Welcome to The Hague on the west coast of Europe, the venue for the third import race in the Ocean Race VO65 Sprint. It's our penultimate import race, sailing in the same waters that in 2018 Dongfeng Race Team won the last edition of the Ocean Race. Well, the sun has been shining all week and our sailors have had to prepare for today while trying to stay cool, but there is a great breeze blowing in from the northeast, and while we're ready to get underway, in the sunshine, the breeze, and in front of all the crowds gathering for the racing. Also in the commentary box today is Dee Kafari. Dee, you've sailed the VO65 in the last two editions of the race, and today a windward-leeward course, something a little bit more traditional.
Back to what we recognise these boats doing from previous editions. Directly upwind, so the boats are going to be tacking, and it's 1.4 nautical miles to that windward gate. So they're going to be zigzagging their way up. Then they have a choice, a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn at that windward gate. Change to sails, come downwind, a few jibes, choice at the leeward gate, and we're going for 2 laps, so they do it all over again, come down to the finish, the final gate, and that is the end of the 2-lap import race in The Hague.
1 minute to go now, so realistically, with the breeze that we've got out there, you'll be wanting to be on your final approach, start to build your momentum. Eric Brockman looking over, now able to turn Viva Mexico, that VO65 round. You can see the committee boat now as we're on to our final approach here. Oh, that's the view from the start line looking back. Everyone else out of view on the right hand side, trying to find their way to come in. Viva Mexico is going to be starting up at the committee boat end. Nipuri Trifort Racing Team holding the boat high, hoping that they're going to be able to have a clear run into the pin end. Austrian Ocean Racing powered by Team JAJO just to windward of Nipuri Trifort Racing Team, but coming out of view from the right hand side is Team JAJO. Team JAJO are going to be coming in on that right hand side. Now they come through. This is Team JAJO absolutely pushing the line now as the gun fires. What an incredible start from Team JAJO. That is the dream start that you look for there, and that is incredibly gutsy to see at the Ocean Race. They've still got to cross the bows of Viva Mexico, but Dee, I think they're going to do that. That's 10 out of 10 in any sailing language.
Wind Whisper also had port, but they were slower. They were caught down by the committee boat. It's JAJO that had pace. So really impressive start from a young crew that had a lot of confidence going into that. They're playing their cards of what they want to achieve today.
Joining us in the commentary booth, we've got Phil Harmer, 2-time Ocean Race winner, now sailing with Wind Whisper Racing Team.
That was a fantastic manoeuvre. Obviously there was a lot of planning that went into that. They had a plan, they stuck to it. Punchy manoeuvre, but they did really well to pull it off, and as you can see from this, they've had massive gains and rewards from doing so.
We're getting confirmation now that there was a protest between Viva Mexico and Team JAJO for the Ocean Race, for the import races. We do have on the water umpires, so they were pretty quick to give it a green flag. Nothing found, and certainly by my eye. I mean, Phil, I understand why if you were Viva Mexico, you'd have a go and you'd raise the protest flag, but by my mind, that was pretty clearly in Team JAJO's favour.
That was very clear. You could also see on the footage there that you could see Mexico do a little bear away just to try and prove the point there, but it wasn't necessary. JAJO just nailed that one.
As the camera pans around, you can see just how much the advantage is for Team JAJO, and in fact for Wind Whisper Racing Team, they're going to be causing more of a problem on starboard now for the Austrian Ocean Racing powered by Team JAJO. I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward duck for the Austrian team, but here comes Nipuri Trifort Racing Team, and they have a little bit of a decision to make, and they go for the tack here, Dee. So clearly Nipuri Trifort Racing Team, they've reached the limit of how far to the right they need to push. Viva Mexico doing well as well. The boats that were furthest to the right, furthest out of the tide, don't seem to have gained.
No, but it's interesting how Wind Whisper doing that tack there and JAJO getting clear. They're now making more of a disruption to the rest of the fleet, which is allowing JAJO to extend slightly. And JAJO have already got action on the bow with the halyards being taken forwards by their bow team, getting ready for the gate rounding that they've got.
These 3 VO65s head out to the left-hand side of the course, if you were looking upwind, the right-hand side of your picture. The other 2 teams are all pushing over to the shallower side. Team JAJO very much in the lead, and then the Austrian Ocean Racing powered by Team JAJO following them. Look at the split that is opened up now with the boats all the way over to the right-hand side. Team JAJO in the lead, leading at the moment. They've got 35 metres to the advantage, and they don't look like they're going to be giving that up. Austrian Ocean Racing powered by Team JAJO seem a little bit slower than the others, and also a little bit off the breeze. Team JAJO are not on the ley line yet, Phil, for this top gate. So I think the fact that they're coming across on starboard, and will be on starboard when these boats all come together, is going to have an effect.
Wind Whisper has to go with Viva Mexico just to stay with them and keep that close.
I mean, they've left it late, though. For Mercury Trifoot Racing Team, now they do have cleaner breeze, better breeze, stronger wind in their sail, but they're going to be tacking pretty soon because we're getting near this ley line here, but it almost looks like Wind Whisper Racing Team, Viva Mexico tacking in light airs, potentially a little bit of a tacking onto a header as well, because Team JAJO, who only had maybe 30 meters to the advantage, look at the rotation that they are getting now. Team JAJO sailing on a lift.
From our position is we don't see the shifts, the rotations, the headers and the lifts, and if they can match with that on their tacks, they're going to make big gains. And I feel that they've been forced into doing the manoeuvres without being coordinated with the wind shifts.
Team JAJO at the top of the course for the first time in the Windward-Leeward import race here in The Hague, and they have a very healthy lead.
I think Phil and I would both agree that we would have started hoisting already by now, so they're quite late on the hoist there, but maybe they're just playing safe.
Wind Whisper attacking.
Yeah, interesting. A split at the top here. Wind Whisper Racing Team tacking over. They are now lined up for a left-hand turn and get a big split from Team JAJO. We're also having attack from Viva Mexico. A little bit slow just to get the last little bit of the jib in. All of these boats at the top of the course definitely sailing in a bit of a lull now. Viva Mexico unfurling the masthead code 0 behind them. Mercury Trifoot Racing Team. They have their A4, the light, loose downwind spinnaker, much more traditional sail. Look at the difference in power here. That A4, the big white sail of Mercury Trifoot Racing Team, that's now allowing them to bear away. First guess is spinnaker was the right call.
Definitely the right call. I mean, that's a chalk and cheese there. You can see that the Team Mexico sailing much higher, much slower, and that's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately.
And you mentioned the jibe, and that's also going to be an interesting consideration for Viva Mexico. Mercury Trifoot Racing Team just behind them. Those two boats are going to jibe in very different ways, Dee. I mean, what would you prefer, jibing with the A4, the big white sail, or jibing with the furler?
Well, I mean, it's a windward leeward, so the idea is for VMG as much as possible. So the white sail, the spinnaker is going to be advantageous with that. You're going to stay lower, you're going to get the power on quicker. Whereas the furl and the deploy, you've got to come up at quite a high angle to get the speed out of it.
There's the jibe for Wind Whisper Racing Team. The red hull now jibing over, but Team JAJO absolutely in the lead as the import race for the VO65 class gets underway here in The Hague. We see Team JAJO jibing well ahead, but just to leeward of Wind Whisper Racing Team. Now, Wind Whisper Racing Team, Pablo Arate has not jibe them onto the ley line, so we'd expect another jibe for the red hull here, giving themselves some good options as Team JAJO do an impressive job with that kite. That looked really nice and clean as we get near the bottom of the course for the first time. The leeward gate now coming into view for Team JAJO. Second place, Wind Whisper Racing Team in third, and fourth, Mercury Trifoot Racing Team and Viva Mexico. Team JAJO have got themselves in a good position. Now they're going for, seems like they're going for hoist of the sail here. Ready to spike, that's the spike in the hand. This is going to be a very traditional spinnaker drop here.
They've done a nice drop. This is where you can gain a lot and lose a lot, and they've done a really nice tidy rounding there.
So confirmation of a change, of course, just a little bit of adjustment of the top gate just due to the change in the wind conditions. Team JAJO safely round. It wasn't quite so tight to the mark, but they didn't need to be.
There's enough breeze to actually keep moving without the spinnaker up, so an early drop is really advisable there. They did a really tight mark rounding there, so they've set themselves up for the upwind quick. What's interesting now is you almost lose some of your team members now on the upwind mode because they're busy packing the kite ready for the next downwind.
Wind Whisper Racing Team tacking again. I was looking at it before and I thought, well, maybe they're tacking because they can feel Mercury Trifoot Racing Team coming up on starboard. But as we go to this shot, they want to split from Team JAJO, don't they?
Yeah, I think they're trying to give themselves every opportunity they can. If they just follow round, they've got to rely on the team making a mistake. And we've seen from their performance so far, they're not letting any mistakes happen.
Team JAJO for the moment happy enough to go back towards the right hand side. They are over halfway up, maybe 2/3 up this beat. The second beat, we've got 2 laps for this import race. So just to finish off this beat here for the Dutch team, the boat's definitely at full power.
Full power up, full upwind. They're sailing really well, and there's just, you can see the team split here. No one's actually actively trimming, but they're getting the boat ready for the next hoist. There's guys moving sails and there's people running sheets.
Yeah, Wind Whisper Racing Team coming in from the left-hand side. Team JAJO is certainly going to be in the lead. They've got one big hoist coming up here. It needs to be nice and clean. No reason to push it because they still have a good 200 meters to their advantage. The mark that they've got in front of them, it will be a left-hand turn. From their perspective, please do not have that spinnaker coming out of the bag too early. It's under control now. Now comes the turn and they're ready to do a good hoist. You can see from the view on board and the crew just holding onto it, now running back as they get onto the halyards, onto the winches and start providing the power. And it's pulling itself up now through. And look at the competition. It's a long way back. They're not even tacked here, D, and onto that final lay line. A great lead for Team JAJO. And by my eye, I think they want more distance. They're working hard enough for it.
Yeah, there's nothing relaxed about that turn, and this was the time to do a late hoist.
It certainly looks windier on the boats as well, and both JAJO and Wind Whisper, they don't have to do anything great from here. They've just got to do nothing stupid.
And then we'll get our first and second. I don't think that Wind Whisper Racing Team will really be too concerned about losing 1 point, but it will stand out on an otherwise perfect scorecard. JAJO, the lead is so strong here. They have not put a foot wrong. Last jibe should put them onto the approach to the finish line. One more turn to go here, D. No reason to make this jibe difficult. There goes a little bit of an ease of the windward sheet. Now for that outside jibe, and they've got to pull it round. An inside jibe now, an inside jibe setting up here, D. A little bit of a change. There is the committee boat and the finish line waiting for them. An incredible start at the gun, on port, flying over the bows of the other 4 VO65s here in The Hague. And now Team JAJO, after playing every move perfectly round this racetrack, crosses the finish line to win here in their home waters. The first team to beat Wind Whisper Racing Team, and you can see how much it means for them. Here comes Pablo Arate down to that finish line as second place, their first non-perfect finish in this edition of the Ocean Race VO65 Sprint, but a second place in The Hague. And behind them, out in the water, we have a little bit more distance here, and D, that masthead code 0 is now really starting to hurt Viva Mexico. Well, here comes the jibe. Austrian Ocean Racing powered by Team Geneva with the white spinnaker on the left-hand side, jibing over. They are now on starboard. That is why you're seeing Viva Mexico have to put the turn in. And interesting that they have set up for what seemed to be an outside jibe on the masthead code 0. I'm not sure I've really seen that one before, Phil, but they are slow out of this turn. Now Eric Brockman has realised what he needs to do here, D. He's trying to go low.
He is, but if he goes too low, he slows down too much, and then he gets in trouble. So you can see him now, just going into that jibe, how slow he is. But actually, the distraction of the other boat has meant that the Austrian team hasn't done a clean jibe here, so there's all sorts going on.
And both boats have not done a clean jibe here. Viva Mexico need to get crew up on the bow and quickly. They have been set for the outside jibe, but the big body of that masthead code 0 has fallen inside the sail, inside the forestay. It's not really a full wrap, but it's a hell of a lot of sail, Phil, to sort of pull round. The white spinnaker, meanwhile, is set and pulling. This is going to be really close here. Both of these boats are just boat lengths from the finish line. Between the committee boat, there is the white mark. As the camera pans round, it looks set to be Austrian Ocean Racing powered by Team Geneva. They are just crossing that finish line ahead. But D, I mean, that is maybe 3/4 of a hull length. It was that jibe for Viva Mexico. That's going to haunt them for a while.
Just that jibe. And do you know what it looks like? It looked like the clue got caught between the forestay and the J1 halyard there, and then pulling it out of that small hole is just so difficult.
That's good.
Wonderful to see a victory meaning so much to the sailors here, and of course the race continues in this edition of the Ocean Race.